Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be reviewing the website, the Design Directive. This was our April website audit winner. And for this website, we are going to be using our website audit checklist. This checklist helps you improve your website by telling you the things that are working and the things that you can improve upon. You can purchase this website audit checklist on our shop.wikidesign.com. We'll put a link in the description. So it looks like the Design Directive provides some consultancy for fashion businesses. They help you get a competitive edge in retail, which is pretty cool. Looking through the homepage, it's pretty clear that this is a website for fashion. I like how they have the different companies that they've worked with and the different services that they offer. So overall, I think that the message of what the Design Directive does is pretty clear. But let's get into our audit. We pulled up our website audit, and what we're going to do is go through each line item and give it a grade of pass, caution, or fail. So let's get started.
So the very first one is clear navigation on all pages. So if we go back into the header right here, what we like to do is make sure that there's a good heading right here. And these are just regular links. Everything looks good. And now let's pull it up on mobile. And it looks like these are the same links as well. So if we go back over here, if you notice when you click on one of these, it's going to open up in a new website. So as a user, we felt this was a little confusing because it goes to a totally different domain now. So if you close down this pop-up, now these links will go back. So now you can see right here, we're like 2 or 3 tabs open. So what we recommend for a better navigation is don't open these up in new tabs if you can. And which one was it? The podcast, I believe. Yeah, we noticed that there was a few broken links. So definitely from a user perspective, you want to make sure that your navigation is working. And in most cases, you're not going to want to open it up in a new tab, especially if it's within the same domain. So I think for that one, definitely some caution. There's a few items that you really need to fix up.
The next is a prominent call to action on the website. And yes, I think that book a call button is a great call to action. It links to Calendly scheduler, so I think that works wonderful.
Yeah, and let's see if that's anywhere else on the website. So
we have something for register.
Register here. That goes to a different landing page. It looks like you're using Thrive in Fashion. So again, this is a little confusing because I'm not sure what domain I'm on now. So this looks like it was a different domain. So maybe open this one up in a new tab, but your navigation's up here. Keep it, within the same page.
Or put that landing page on your main domain.
Yeah. There's another book a call down here. So that's good. So when someone comes to your page, they kind of know what you want them to do. And that's book a 30-minute discovery call. So that's a good feature right there.
Yeah.
So if we go back into here, we'll say that's a pass right here. So the next one is, does your logo link back to your home page? So let's go back into here. And in most cases, it's always good to make sure that your logo links back to your home page. So it looks like it does. So if we click that, it's just going to go back to the page. There's been some studies lately where it's a good practice to actually have a home button and have a link back to your home page from your logo, because if you're on a mobile device or some other device, sometimes people might use one or the other. So it's kind of good to use both, in my opinion. So that one you pass for sure.
White space and directional cues. I think that there's plenty of white space. It doesn't look too cramped together. Mm-hmm. I would say you pass for that. Is the copy clear, descriptive, and desirable? Going through the site, I think that the copy is pretty good. I can understand exactly what services you offer. It's clear, concise. It's not too many words. I think that you did a pretty good job.
So for that one, we're going to use pass. Communicates value and trust.
In order to get this to be a little bit better, it would be wise to have everything on one domain instead of linking to multiple different domains, because that kind of confuses people and they might be wondering where they're at. If everything was on one domain, I think that it would be better. So I'm going to give that a caution. I like the content. I like the way it's worded, but I think that it could be better.
The next one is unacceptable pop-ups. So you're going to want to make sure that you don't have these intrusive pop-ups. And I don't think there was any. So if we go into an incognito window, let's make sure that there's no pop-ups. And so here we are in an incognito window. It looks like you just have the cookie notice down here,
But
so
that's
that's
not
fine.
super intrusive.
No. What we mean by that is any of the ones where, you have to interact with something to get into a website that's, not driven.
Looks like an ad.
Yeah, it makes it look an ad or something. So yeah, you pass on that for sure. The next one is we always like to make sure that at least when we build websites, we don't overuse stock images because it can look really bad if you use a lot of stock images. And I would say you're fine here. So I can tell that maybe some of these might be stock images, but you're not using a lot of stock images.
And they fit with what you're offering. So I think that it's okay. It's always better if you can have, actual images, branded photos, but we understand that not everybody has the budget for that. So I think that the stock images that you chose are a good option.
So for that one, we will do pass. The next thing we like to do is make sure that the website is mobile friendly to Google. So after the scan is complete, you're going to see this page right here. If Google is able to crawl your website with no problems, and if you get the green check mark, you're good to go. The next thing we like to check for is if there's a favicon. So if you see where my mouse is right here, I can see you uploaded a little favicon. So that's good because that's going to not only display here in the tab, but also in Google search results. So you do pass there.
Next up, we have the blog page and consistent content. So let's take a look at your blog and see what we have. It does look like it's taking a little bit to load, and I think that's because you have some pretty big featured images. So I would recommend reducing the size of those to help with the load time.
Yeah, because you can see whenever it's doing this, when it slowly crawls like this, that means that, there's definitely large images. And I'll check that once that loads up, but it looks like as of recording this, it's April 11th. So you are updating, it looks like once a month or so. So
yeah, consistent content, I would say.
There's a pretty big gap here. Let's see. I would say caution. Like what we recommend is at minimum at least once a month. So you could increase your consistency a little bit more. You don't have to go crazy. I would say, once a week if you can, once a month at the
Whatever
least.
you can do. And we know it's difficult sometimes to sit down and write a blog.
But from a user perspective, if you're going to have a blog, it's good to show that you're somewhat active in it, because if you go to a blog and it's stale, like they haven't updated it in years, that almost feels as a user that you might have abandoned the website or you're not updating it. You just aren't in business anymore. It could mean a lot of different things to different people. So that's why we recommend, at least a month. Now, let me go ahead and show you that this image, for example, it's still loading up, I think, right here. But these images are, like that one, for example, is 5 megabytes. And so these need to be compressed quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's best case to always have I like to tell people, have it under 100 kilobytes if you can. So this is another 4 megabytes. Yeah. So basically that means someone has to download like 4 megabytes here, 4 megabytes here. So if you're on a data plan, for example, on your mobile device, this is going to eat up someone's data and probably take forever to load. So definitely, these are probably your featured images. Just change those out, crunch them down, and that should load up a lot faster.
Yeah, that will definitely help.
And the next thing was, are you doing social sharing?
So let's look at the individual blog posts and see what we have. Let's scroll down and see what we have. It looks like the layout is a little wonky on this particular post.
Yeah, let me go back to another one.
Let's go back to another one and see if that is any better.
Yeah, that looks like...
this looks better. Mm-hmm. Let's see if we have any social sharing. It looks like the images aren't loading up on this page. So there's some work that you want to do on the single post template. I don't see any social sharing.
No, so let me try one more.
Let's try one more and just see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks the same as the one before.
It's a nice layout.
Yeah, the
And
layout
you have your feed down
isn't
here.
bad, but I would make a couple adjustments, maybe add some more space at the bottom because that read more link is right up against the footer.
Yeah.
And I think we could definitely add some social share icons to just make that
Yep.
a little bit better. So we'll put caution for that.
And then are you using categories for your posts? So let's go back up here and see how you have this laid out. So it looks like you have your name of the author here when it was published, how
And
long.
then uncategorized.
So uncategorized. Well, we recommend if you are going to be showing that type of metadata,
To have it in
have
a
it,
category.
yeah, have it as a category because not only is that good for Google, but it's good for users too
So
because
this one is under the category
Fashion,
fashion.
yeah.
So maybe you just forgot to tag the
yeah.
other one.
Later when we go into the sitemap, we might be able to see, you know, how many categories you have and stuff like that. So you may want to work on this page. So I clicked
Yeah.
on the word fashion. So this is going into what
The
they call
category
an
archive.
archive page for your categories. And yeah, you're going to want to change up how this is laid out. So I believe you're using Elementor. So you will be able to change this out at the archive level and make it look better because your featured image is filling up the whole entire screen. So yeah, from a user perspective, you could do a lot of cool stuff on here. You can even add more keywords on this page and Google
Yeah.
will love that. So same thing with that. Probably caution. Definitely you want to work on those archive pages. All right, so let's scroll down into the technical SEO and the speed. So these are things that I like to cover. And the very first thing is your Google Page Speed Insight score for mobile and desktop. So I already have that open right here. And as you can see, if you go to this tool, just drop in your URL, they give you a score between mobile and desktop. And so it's 0 to 100, 100 being the best, 0 being bad. So it looks like you're at a 60 for mobile and 92 for desktop. So if you look underneath performance, that's what these grades are. Now, the way it works is if you look right here where it says slow 4G throttling, what this means is Google is doing like a simulation of how your website's going to load on slow 4G. So in a lot of cases, unless you're using really lightweight pages, a really lightweight framework, and good hosting, it's hard to score really high in the 90s on mobile. But that's why on desktop you get a much better scores because it's not throttling your connection. Now, if you go back under mobile right here, these are some metrics that Google's using to give you this score. But what's really important is you want to go down here and fix anything that it tells you. So it's best to always work from the highest red right here where it says 2.55 seconds. Just go down the list and try to fix these as best as you can. I'll quickly just go through, and it looks like the number one thing on your website is you're going to want to serve your images up in what they call next-gen format. So basically that means there's a new format called WebP, which is a lot more better compressed than PNG and JPEG. So you can go ahead and see that they show you what images need to be updated and how much space you can save. So a lot of this is going to be more of a manual process, getting those images to be optimized. So this next section is you can also tighten up a lot of your code right here. And in a lot of cases, you can fix this stuff with caching plugins like WP Rocket or Lightspeed caching is what we like to use, and that will fix up a lot of these things right here. And same thing down here, you're going to want to make sure that you're using the right size images. And they go into more detail down here. But like I said, it's important to make sure that your desktop is at least in the green and your mobile, that you're not horrible right here. I've seen a lot worse where it's in the 20s and 30s or lower, but you definitely could use a little bit more of a boost. And once you get those images optimized and install some caching, you should be able to be in the 80s, 70s, 80s easy. So for mobile, I'll give you the caution, and desktop, you're fine. Now let's go into GT metrics and make sure that your load times are under 3 seconds. So what I like to do is I just run the home page in this test. I'm not running all of your pages, but as you can see, you've got a 98% right here. And what I like to pay attention to is the fully loaded time. I like to make sure that's under 3 seconds. So you do pass on that because you're at 1.2 seconds. So let's go back here, 1.2 seconds. And the next thing is you want to make sure your server response time is under 600 milliseconds. It's kind of like best practice. So let me go back here. And what you can do is this button where it says waterfall. What this is going to do is show you all of your files that it takes to load up your website. So basically your website is just consistent of all of these files to make it look the way it does. And what you want to do to check your server speed is the very first request is how long it takes for this test right here to reach your server, and you're at 211 milliseconds. So you pass that with no problem. Now you would fail that if you were on a really slow host. You could get really bad server time, so that's how you might see results over 600. The next thing is if you're using SSL certificate. So what you can do is just go back into your website, click this lock icon, click where it says site is secure, and you can see right here that let's see, issued on November 2nd, 2022, and it expires December 4th, 2023. So it looks like you're good right here. It looks like you're using a yearly certificate, so this is probably done through your host or your domain, but yeah, you clearly passed that. The next things I like to check is if you're using some sort of SEO plugin to change your title tags and your meta descriptions. So when I go to your homepage right here and I just view your source, I can see that you do have the Yoast plugin. So that's very common. A lot of people use Yoast, and I can see that you have a custom title and your description here. So that's good. If you are concerned that sometimes these might not show up in Google the way you think they do, that's because Google can override these things. But in most cases, it's good. It's best practice to just update any of these titles and descriptions with some keywords. And so you do pass on that and that. And SEO friendly URLs. So you want to make sure that any URLs you go to do have some keywords in it. So if I click on consulting, I can see it's going to go to consulting for fashion business. So yeah, it looks like in most of your cases right here, you are using SEO friendly. So the blog looks like it's going to go to blog advice, tips, and insights. So it does look like you are going to pass on that. Now we can check your sitemap. And if you go to your website and just type in sitemap.xml, if you have this enabled in Yoast, it's going to show up just like this. So that's good. You do pass with your sitemap. So this is always good and best practice. So Google can crawl your website real easy. And you can see if you click on post, these are all of your blog posts right here. You got 12 of them. And yeah, you can see right here, the SEO friendly, your URLs look good. You click on page, these are your different pages right here. So you do pass on that for sure. Now we can jump into your robots.txt file. So this is basically a little file that's going to sit on your server and either allow or not allow certain bots to crawl your website. So I can see you're using Yoast right here, so that's good. And it looks like you're allowing everybody to crawl your website. So that's usually best practice. So if you had certain cases where you don't want certain search engines to crawl your website, that would appear inside here. And this is also good, like I said, that you have your sitemap link in here. Now we can move on to schema right here. And you can go to this website right here. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can test your structural data. So you just throw in your URL right here, run the test, and then what this is doing is it's crawling the back end of your website or your code to make sure that you have some schema in there. And if you have Yoast installed, I believe that they have the generic information right here. So if you click on web page, this is pulling in information from Yoast. So yeah, this is not bad right here. You can always make it a little bit more descriptive if you use another plugin. But in this case, you look like you do have schema in here, and you want to make sure you don't see any errors right here or warnings or anything. So out of the gate, you look like you pass on that. And if we scroll down right here, what I like to do is make sure that you're using WebP images as often as you can. So if you remember back up here, when I mentioned it's best practice to use WebP because they're a lot lighter weight on the server and for the user. But I think in your situation, you're going to need to go ahead and probably convert a lot of these images over to WebP. So let me just open up the console right here. You can click on network. And if you reload this right here, we can visually see, this is like that waterfall I showed you earlier. You can click where it says image. So it looks like most of your images are JPEGs, and it does look like you have one WebP right here. So this is a WebP image, but all of the other ones, at least on the home page, are just using JPEGs. And so you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that you change those out to WebPs, especially on your blog page, because that's where they were really big. You're going to see a huge performance boost there. So I will give you caution right here. Like I said, most of your images probably will need to be updated. The next items are some accessibility scans. So if you go into a website like Wave right here, they also have a browser extension that I like to use, but you can also just paste in your URL right here. And what it's going to do is just crawl your website, and once it's loading up right here, it will tell you if there's any errors or anything like that. So on your home page alone, it looks like you don't have any errors. So that's good. You don't have any technical errors. If you click on details, you can see that there are some contrast errors. So what that means is you're using too light of a color on a button or something like that. So it's a little bit harder for some people to, read this text. So in this case, most of your body text, if you used a darker font, this might increase or decrease a lot of these errors right here. So you can always go line by line and just kind of figure out where these warnings are coming from and just kind of work your way down from there. But at least on the home page, you look like you have 0 errors. If you do come across some other pages that have errors, you just need to kind of fix those. I always like to make sure that these are as close to 0 as possible. So I can give you a pass on that one because you don't have any technical errors.
Next up is the accessibility statement. In the United States, a recommendation is to have an accessibility statement because it shows that you take accessibility seriously. On this page, you just have a statement saying that you are attempting to make your website as accessible as possible, and we basically welcome your feedback. And if you have any concerns or you wanted to make any comments, you can email or get in touch with the owner of the website. So that's basically all an accessibility statement is. But since you aren't in the US, it looks like you're in Dubai, that might not be as necessary.
Yeah.
So
We'll
I'm
put
actually
NA
going to
for
put
now, yeah.
NA for that, but it is something that if you're interested in including, you could easily include as a page on your site.
And the last item on the list is, do your images have alt tags? So again, it's best practice anytime you have any sort of images on your website like this to add some sort of descriptive text so someone who is visually impaired, who can't see the image correctly, can at least read some text about what the image is about. So I have a Google Chrome extension right here called View Image Info. I'll leave a link to this extension in the description below, but I love to use it because you can just right click on an image, click right here, and you can see right where my mouse is highlighting. You do not have any alt text, at least on that image. You can check another image real quick. That one doesn't have any. So it probably, if you don't have one, you probably don't have them on most of them. So let me try another one right here. And to add this alt text is very easy. You just go into WordPress in your media library where your images are, and right on the right side, you're going to see an area where you can add your alt text. So it will just take a few seconds for every image. What we like to do is every time you upload an image to the website, just do your alt text right there so you don't have to worry about it later. So that's what we like to do. Again, this is kind of a manual process. So if you want to be able to pass that, you want to make sure that you go ahead and just do that for every image. So that one I think is more of a fail. I didn't really see any alt text.
That's it for today's video. If you're interested in auditing your own website, head on over to the link in our description where you can download our website audit checklist. This will give you an idea of what is working well on your website and what are some things that you can improve upon. Thanks so much for watching the video, and we'll see you next time. Bye!